this is an iHeart podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Thursday edition of the Clay, Travis, and Buck Sexton Show. And much to discuss with all of you. We're back from Fort Wayne, Indiana, where we were yesterday. Whoa land. Had a great time there. Thank you all for coming out for the live show. Thank you all for listening in the greater Indiana area, because, of course, Whoa reaches far and wide in the Hoosier State. And it was a great time. Thank you. Let's look at what we have on the docket for you all today. Why is Abigail Spanberger having trouble in Virginia? The best answer, some people are saying, the best answer you're going to hear anywhere. The most hilarious. We will get to that in a bit. That Virginia governor's race, of course, very important. More updates on Kami Mamdani in New York City and what is going on there. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, talks about his view of blowing up these narco boats. We've got the military going kinetic on narco boats off the coast of Venezuela in international waters, and we shall discuss that. A little more attention being paid to what's getting in the middle of this whole shutdown fight, including the cost of health care, which I really hope people will start to pay more attention to. But we're going to dive into something else here for a moment. I was watching this morning. I was getting prepped, and I flew back home. Had to get to the Nashville. By the way, Nashville Airport is so civilized. It's such a nice airport. Great airport. Miami Airport is trash. I love Miami. I love Florida. Miami Airport, MIA Airport is trash. Anyway, Nashville Airport, lovely, civilized. There's practically a bluegrass band. Actually, sometimes there is a bluegrass band just playing whenever you walk around there, hanging out. But I was flying back this morning, and I saw this story. And I watched some of this press conference, and I was like, oh, boy, this is like Clay Travis Outkick DEFCON 1. This is quite a thing. The NBA betting scandal. Let's just start this off, Clay, before you take us on a whirlwind tour of all the madness. FBI Director Kash Patel announcing these arrests, the betting scandal, the mobs involved. Oh, my. Play one.
As you now know, individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today, former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing. The men and women that are standing up here today worked tireless hours, days, months, and years. And the fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation.
Clay, I've got to ask you, because I've already had 3 people ask me to ask you as I've passed walking my dog on the street. What does Clay think about the betting scandal? Clay, take it away.
All right, so this is like maybe my most epic wheelhouse. I've been on Fox News all morning, and I watched and listened to the entire Kash Patel press conference. So let me break it down for you twofold. And by the way, some of you may have questions about this, because I think this is going to be one of those stories that it connects everywhere, because some of the details are just so crazy. So let me break it down for you. Basically, the FBI announced 2 different indictments which were interconnected. The first one, it feels like a movie. The mafia was rigging poker games, and they were using, some of the details here, Buck, contact lenses that could look through cards, X-ray machines to know what cards were coming. There were cameras in chandeliers, and they were using what they called face cards. These are famous guys, imagine they're almost all men, to draw in the card players, the poker players. And one of them was Chauncey Billups, allegedly, the head coach right now of the Portland Trailblazers, who was arrested early this morning. So this is the mafia, which we haven't heard a lot about for a long time, rigging these high-end poker games. They said the amounts of lost money were in the tens of millions of dollars. One guy lost $1.8 million in one game. I bet that we have listeners right now who were in these games. I bet. I'm just gonna toss it out there in that some of these high-end poker games, you guys went and you thought, man, I really had a rough night. No. You were the fish. You were the rich guy, probably almost all men, that they brought in and they rigged these games. Okay. There is a man named Damon Jones, former coach and player in the NBA, who was charged alongside of Chauncey Billups in this case. And then he was the linchpin to a second case, which had to do with brazen sports corruption, an insider betting scandal. Do we have Jess Tisch? Because this really kind of sums up the NBA side. She said that Terry Rozier, an NBA basketball player right now, Buck, for your Miami Heat, who was previously playing for the Charlotte Hornets, he told everybody he was going to leave a game early, left after only 9 minutes. There were $200,000 wagered on him not achieving the numbers that were prop betted for that particular game, points, rebounds, assists. And they said the proceeds were then delivered to his house where they counted the $200,000 in cash. Now, we have that. Cut 3. Listen to this, and I'll give you a take on a couple of different angles here.
In some instances, players altered their performance or took themselves out of games to make sure that those bets paid out. One example occurred on March 23rd, 2023 in Charlotte. Terry Rozier, an NBA player now with the Miami Heat, but at the time playing for the Hornets, allegedly let others close to him know that he planned to leave the game early with a supposed injury. Using that information, members of the group placed more than $200,000 in wagers on his under statistics. Rozier exited the game after just 9 minutes, and those bets paid out, generating tens of thousands of dollars in profit. The proceeds were later delivered to his home, where the group counted their cash. As the NBA season tips off, his career is already benched, not for injury, but for integrity.
Yeah. What is your takeaway, Buck?
Can I ask?
Yes.
I feel like the kid in the classroom. I'm like, I have questions. Okay. How much money does this guy Rozier make? Because NBA
26
salaries.
I'll tell you. $26.6 million this year. So this is an epically dumb decision that is potentially going to put him behind bars and make him basically what he makes on an average NBA game.
Thank you. This is what I was wondering about, because to me, okay, so it is mind-blowingly stupid. Mind-blowingly stupid. Forget about the integrity and all that. That's baked into this. We, of course, know you shouldn't do this, but you're going to risk a $26 million a year salary for $200,000.
He makes
$200,000 is like
$24,000 per game right now, Buck. So he risked basically one half of a game salary, one half of one game salary, to lose all of it.
Astonishing. I don't even know what to say. That's one of the dumbest criminal capers I've heard in a very long time.
Yes. And look, I've got so many takes on this. I mean, I'll hold it up for people watching on video. I mean, I was watching this press conference live and my jaw just kept dropping. The detail of the ways that they would rig these poker games. I mean, if you put it in a movie, a lot of us would say there's no way that could actually be true. And listen to it. I think we have cut 4. This is U.S. Attorney Joseph Nacella, I might be mispronouncing his game, describing the way that they would cheat in these poker games.
They used off-the-shelf shuffling machines that had been secretly altered in order to read the cards in the deck, predict which player at the table had the best poker hand, and relay that information to an off-site operator. Defendants used other cheating technologies, such as poker chip tray analyzers, which is a poker chip tray that secretly reads cards using a hidden camera, special contact lenses or eyeglasses that could read pre-marked cards, and an X-ray table that could read cards face down on the table.
Buck, I mean, this is crazy stuff. And so I believe what happened, this is my theory in general based on watching this press conference, is they became aware the mafia was involved in rigging these games. And then based upon the surveillance of the people who were involved in these games, they were then able to find out that this NBA rigging of individual bets may also have been going through the linchpin connector here, which was Damon Jones, who is accused on both sides of these charges.
Remember when they were bringing that preposterous RICO case against Trump in Atlanta, and you and I were talking about how it was absurd, and RICO is really something that you think of for cross-state mafia, illicit, fraudulent activities. This to me looks like a big RICO case, right? I mean, if you're talking about the mob,
11 states
fixing games in 11 different states, massive fraud, millions and millions of dollars. And I know they've had dozens of people already indicted. Is that right?
Over 30 is the number of people that were indicted. One current player, one current coach, one former coach and player connected to the NBA.
So now, Clay was inescapable this morning. You know, I'm making my Crockett coffee. Clay's on the TV. I'm listening, to the radio. Clay's on the, talking about this. So I have to ask you this. I'm sure others have asked you. I haven't heard you address this one yet, though. Do you think this is the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this kind of fixing, or is this the worst of it? Have we already heard the worst of it, or is there more?
Well, some people don't like the fact that I like sports gambling. And you're certainly entitled to that opinion, just like some people don't like the fact that I like bourbon. You know, I am a sinner, when it comes to things like that. I love to gamble. I like to have an occasional drink. I actually think, Buck, that legalized gambling makes it more likely that we catch people for this, because the sports books who were described as victims here, the sports books typically catch irregular wagering patterns.
Almost like stock market SEC stuff, right? Like if someone bets the farm the day before the big announcement comes out.
That's right. They can tell. They caught an Alabama baseball coach, for instance, because he had an associate, allegedly, going, I think, to a Cincinnati, Ohio sports book and try to bet a ton of money on a random college baseball game. And they just said, well, you know, this, like, it's one thing if you walk in and you say, hey, I want to put $5,000 down on the Super Bowl. That's not an uncommon bet. It wouldn't raise eyebrows. If you walk in and you say, hey, I want to put $5,000 down in a random sports book on a random college baseball game.
Women's field hockey.
Yeah, right. If you suddenly walked up and you're like, hey, I'm going to put $100K on a WNBA game, they would be like, sorry. In other words, they put limits in place. A lot of times you can't get down the full amount of money that you do. Therefore, you try to go around to different books. Usually it gets flagged. And that's why the line is adjusting constantly, right? There's a market. And if tons of sharp money, they call it, comes in on one side or the other, they wonder about injuries. They wonder about things like that. I think what has happened, Buck, is the sunshine of legalized sports gambling has shown us how often, in my opinion, this has been happening over the past several decades and not necessarily gotten caught because there isn't a regulatory mechanism by which it gets caught. Look, the sports books want games to be on the up and up more than anybody because they risk, if there's a rig, they're the ones who are risking the money oftentimes and being taken advantage of.
We'll get into more of this. I'm sure a lot of you are going to have some takes on this situation. I'm curious
what questions people have out there, because this is a crazy story.
Well, theoretically, sports should be an area where it's actually a totally fair market, because there's really no, I mean, the teams are the teams, so, and no one knows what's going to happen, the opposing forces. So it's very clear fraud if somebody is affecting that clear marketplace because of individual gain, illicit profit. So I totally see this as, you know, if you have laws against insider trading, you got to have laws against people shaving points or doing these prop bet things. I know we do, but I'm just saying you have to enforce those laws too.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll talk about this. I'm curious what questions you guys might have, because this is a crazy story. They're going to make movies about this. I mean, there's going to be Netflix documentaries. There's going to be Netflix series. It's like Rounders, which is a super popular game for poker players. maybe some of y'all even feel like maybe you were in some of these high-end games. We'll talk about that, but I want to tell you about Cozy Earth. It's absolutely phenomenal. I sleep on these sheets, and I have to tell you, they are fantastic. I absolutely love them. I even turned to my wife recently. We're in bed, and said, you know what? I've never actually noticed the sheets before. This is a real conversation I had. I said, are these just way better than our normal sheets? Because I had never noticed what sheets I'm sleeping on. These are bamboo sheets, temperature regulating, moisture wicking. She said, you're a moron. We've had sheets for a long time, obviously. But also these are super nice sheets, and you can try them yourself. 100-night sleep trial, 10-year warranty. What's the risk? You can see whether, like me, you get under these sheets and you think, boy, this is really kind of nice stuff. You can also get hooked up with PJs, towels, even clothing. Find it all online at CozyEarth.com. Upgrade the place you spend the most time, your home. CozyEarth.com. My name Clay for 20% off. That's COZY Earth.com. Code Clay. CozyEarth.com. Code Clay. Tell them you heard about it from Clay and Buck. That's CozyEarth.com. Code Clay.
Making America great again isn't just one man. It's many. The Team 47 Podcast. Sundays at noon Eastern in the Clay and Buck podcast feed. Find it on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Life's messy. We're talking spills, stains, pets, and kids. But with Anabae, you never have to stress about messes again. At WashableSofas.com, discover Anabae sofas, the only fully machine-washable sofas inside and out, starting at just $699. Made with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics. That means fewer stains and more peace of mind. Designed for real life, our sofas feature changeable fabric covers, allowing you to refresh your style anytime. Need flexibility? Our modular design lets you rearrange your sofa effortlessly. Perfect for cozy apartments or spacious homes. Plus, they're earth-friendly and built to last. That's why over 200,000 happy customers have made the switch. Upgrade your space today. Visit WashableSofas.com now and bring home a sofa made for life. That's WashableSofas.com. Offers are subject to change, and certain restrictions may apply.
People ask us all the time how we can save the next generation.
We've got our show, and the info is an antidote, but we also have a couple books coming out, Clay.
That's right, and you can pre-order both of them right now and be book nerds just like us.
You'll laugh, you'll nod, and you'll get smarter, too.
Mine's called Balls, How Trump, Young Men, and Sports Saved America.
And mine is Manufacturing Delusion, How the Left Uses Brainwashing, Indoctrination, and Propaganda Against You.
Both are great reads. One might even say they would make fabulous gifts.
Indeed. So do us a solid and pre-order yours on Amazon today. The Virginia governor's race and some other big political showdowns, including the mayor's race in New York City. Let's talk about this. First up here, polls. Do we have Spanberger, according to the New York Times here, with all these different polls, up 9, up 12, up 13, up 5, up 10, all this stuff. I don't buy it. Trafalgar has her up 2. Which I think is within the margin of error. Where's the margin? Well, almost the margin of error. So I think that this is one of these times where they're trying to tell everybody, on the one hand, the polls show that Spanberger's a shoo-in, but on the other hand, they're concerned about Spanberger at the same time. And this is just fun for us as two guys who make a living doing, doing this. There's just some basic, this is cut 7, guys. There's just some basic stuff here that you want to find out before you go on the air. For example, Mika Brzezinski, who really, I think, just exists on television so that, wealthy, Chardonnay ladies of suburbs of major cities have somebody that they can look to who gives them emotional validation in their politics without actually educating them about any politics. Because here we go. The reason that Abigail Spanberger is struggling, I just told you all the polls say that, she's going to win by so much. But the Democrats know it's actually pretty close, and they're worried. And so they're saying the reason they're struggling is sexism. Play 7.
It really is incredible when you have Abigail Spanberger, Mikey Sherrill, her background, all the different jobs that she has held in the military, and also like Alyssa Slotkin. I mean, my God, these women are incredible. And to them, I would say, fight, because we need them.
I mean, this is something that a lot of Democrats are grappling with right now. As they've nominated women 2 of the last 3 elections for the presidency, lost both. There are some who say, well, we can't do that again. The stakes are too high. But of course, that does fall into the same misogynistic trap.
Other countries have no problem electing women.
Abigail Spanberger is running against a black woman.
Yes.
So how is it that Abigail Spanberger, being a woman, is the cause of her difficulties, Clay? I just need to understand this.
Not only that, she mentioned Alyssa Slotkin, who is running for governor in Michigan. Michigan has a female governor, and the last Michigan governor's race was our friend Tudor Dixon running against Gretchen Whitmer. 2 women ran against each other. So this is just do a smidgen of basic research and don't dive headlong into the oppression Olympics. And you can see that there are women winning elections all over the country. And sometimes women lose elections all over the country, just like men do. I don't know that any woman has lost an election because of her gender in, frankly, the 21st century. Hillary was not a great candidate. Barack Obama beat her. I don't think Barack Obama beat her because he was a black man. I think he beat her because he was a better candidate. Bernie Sanders would have beaten Hillary, but he didn't because the DNC actually rigged the election for her. And Hillary lost because she did a poor job as a poor candidate campaigning in the battleground states that she didn't think she had any reason to be concerned about losing all over the Midwest. And Kamala, regardless of her gender, may have been the worst candidate anyone has seen. And she was elevated, I would argue, to the Democrat nomination because of her race and her gender. So if she hadn't been a black woman, I think there's a decent chance they would have had some sort of short, open mini primary. But they were so afraid of being called racist and sexist inside the Democrat Party that they just said, hell, go ahead and put Kamala up. We'll see what happens. Maybe we get lucky if she loses, then so what? We'll blame the fact that she's a black woman. There's a desperate attempt here to try and make themselves victims and the sign of oppression, but they're not even doing the research that's required to even make the argument very well.
You remember when I think very watchable movie still, As Good as It Gets, with Jack Nicholson and, do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
Remember
yeah, it's a great
one?
movie.
Yeah, great movie. Remember when he's a famous author, but obviously also a very strange guy or very, socially awkward guy, Jack Nicholson. She says, how do you write women so well? He says, I think of a man and then I take away reason and accountability. Now, I'm not endorsing that line. I am just saying that Mika Brzezinski is playing right into that by claiming that a woman losing to a woman is because of sexism. There is neither reason nor accountability in that analysis for their candidate. And Katie Couric, who is still in the game somewhat. I didn't even know this. I thought she was just, counting her millions and doing whatever. But she still does the journalisming thing sometimes. She called out Abigail Spanberger because it's just too obvious that Spanberger is trying to run out the clock and not answer tough questions and just let the Democrat machine propel her over the finish line barely. Because she won't tell Jay Jones he's got to drop out. Here's Spanberger's response to Couric. Remember, Jay Jones was the guy running for attorney general. I think he's actually dropped below Miyares now for that AG slot in some of the polling.
It looks like, hopefully going to win that race because there has been a consequence from the text chain scandal.
And Katie Couric's like, hey, Spanberger, you want to be governor, you got to be able to draw a hard line on this. Here's what Spanberger says. Play 8.
There's a problem here with Jay Jones. He's the Democratic candidate for Virginia Attorney General. he wrote some texts and they were released basically advocating for political violence against his opponent. And the Democrats in your state and other states, I understand, have renounced his rhetoric, but they have not called for him to drop out of the race. And I'm just curious, why is that?
I think there's a couple elements here, and I'll speak broadly, but also reflecting my own opinions. These texts are years old.
That's
her answer.
That's it. We got texts are years old. That's the first thing we're going with.
What I come back to, first of all, Spanberger is a far left-wing candidate, and Virginians are being sold a bill of goods, much like we were told that Joe Biden was Grandpa Joe and he was going to be a very moderate Scranton Joe, middle-of-the-road leader. And then as soon as he got in, he did everything the super left-wing of the party wanted him to do. Abigail Spanberger will do that exact same thing in Virginia. And a lot of Virginians are being sold a bill of goods here, and they're going to wake up in a year and a half or 2 years and say, how did this happen? How are there all these dudes in women's locker rooms? How is my daughter playing a volleyball game against a 6'5" dude who's smashing volleyball on the other side of the net? It's going to be because Abigail Spanberger says, well, we have to respect the gender identity of these teenage boys who are pretending to be girls. That's the reality. By the way, this is crazy. Did you see, Buck? The Minnesota Supreme Court voted 7-0 in the judged 7-0, all Democrat appointees, that a male power lifter was being discriminated against. His human rights were being discriminated against, and he had to be allowed by the Powerlifting Association to compete as a woman. This is a big friggin' dude.
Yeah,
like powerlifting of all things, Buck, you would think with strength. I mean, this is basically the most thing that masculinity matters the most on, powerlifting of all things. 7-0, he has to be able to compete in women's athletics.
This is a reminder, everyone. Their plan, the left's plan on the trans agenda, trans rights, whatever, is not to moderate, is not to become rational. Their plan is to ride this out until they can force the insanity on you via the state. They can use state power, first in places like Minnesota and then California. They can use state power to make you do this and make you pretend. Clay, right? This is their plan is to just wait till the shoe is on the other foot and decide that they can make us comply. It's like we saw with COVID. It's different in terms of obviously what we're talking about, but just they're going to use state force to make you do crazy stuff on trans the second they can. You're going to be told, clap for the 250-pound dude winning the powerlifting competitions and say his name is Sally and he's actually a girl or else. That's the plan.
I mean, for those of you out there who would say, oh, this is an exaggerated issue, 7 members of the Supreme Court of the state of Minnesota just said it's a violation of this dude's human rights for the Powerlifting Association to say you're actually a man, you're not allowed to compete as a woman.
It is absolutely, I mean, I know you're not saying this, it is absolutely not an exaggerated issue on our side. They make it an issue, and then when people pay attention, they say, what are you talking about? It's not that big a deal. It's not happening that much. This is the argument of cowards. They won't stand behind the argument until, it's like the person who will only pick a fight with somebody when he's got his 10 buddies there.
Yeah.
They only want the fight when they know that they'll be able to use force to win. They don't want to actually have the debate in public. They don't want people to understand what's going on here. And they want to do this in states like Minnesota, what has happened? I used to go camping in Minnesota as a kid. So many nice people, no crime, lovely place. All I see is bad stuff now about at least what's going on in politics, and I'm sure there's still nice camping sites, but politics and in Minneapolis, it's not good.
No, I think this is Minnesota nice is a real thing, and many of you in Minnesota know it. I think Minnesota may be the foremost example of toxic empathy ruining a state because they have convinced a lot of people, well, if you don't acknowledge that, I mean, there was the Minnesota where a dude pitched as a woman and won his girls team the softball championship. This is like a 6'2" dude was saying, hey, I identify as a girl, and they won a Minnesota State softball championship. They beat all these other girl teams. So they're trying to be kind. This is where I think it comes from, Buck. I think it's a good point. They're trying to be kind. Same thing with George Floyd. Oh, this is so unacceptable. Look, that this is how black people are treated all over Minnesota, all over the country. The BLM protest. What happened to George Floyd was a crazy outlier. And we could do probably whole shows on the calamity surrounding the criminal prosecution and everything else of Derek Chauvin and that entire case. But the fact that they didn't shut down the protest, the fact that Tim Walz and his wife bragged about leaving the mansion windows open so they could smell the city burning as if that was somehow a sign of pride. There's a lot of white guilt. I think there's a lot of white kindness that has been used to drive toxic results all over the state of Minnesota.
Well, the courtesy of people on the right, the innate kindness, desire for respect, civility, and decency has unfortunately been used as a Trojan horse for the left-wing radical agenda on the trans stuff the whole time. The whole time. Come on, this person's having a tough time. Just use the name. Just use the pronoun. Just be inclusive. To now that's not Macho Man Randy Savage, throwing elbows at these little girls and breaking their noses. That's Tina. No, it's Macho Man Randy Savage.
I mean, you've seen the picture of the power lifter in Minnesota. Yeah, I mean, it is a huge dude, man. I mean, powerlifting, for those of you who don't lift, men who power lift are freakishly large dudes in the first place, right? I mean, powerlifting is maybe the most aggressively masculine way to lift weights on the planet. So of all the things that you could be using to try to compete as a man in women's sports, powerlifting might be, is this fair, Buck? Might be the sport where you have almost the biggest advantage.
Yes. I will. A long time ago, and don't come at me, CrossFitters. I think CrossFit actually is very injury prone, and I'm not a fan. But anyway, it's not for me. A long time ago, I used to go to a CrossFit gym, and you'd put your stuff up there, and there were women in there who had quads the size of telephone poles. I'm just saying, very, very strong. You and I can both bench more than they can easily.
Yes.
And people will sit there and make fun of us for being slouchy looking radio hosts, which fair, but we can both bench more than
almost any woman on the planet.
Correct. Yes. So, are we really going to do? We really are going to do this? We're really going to do this? Wild stuff. So and that's where we are, folks. The answer is yes. They're not backing off this. You have to pretend that it's not Macho Man Randy Savage. He's not here to talk about his transition. If you haven't seen that, you got to go back and watch that South Park clip. All right. Indulge me for a minute. I want to tell you about this exciting new project. We're witnessing an incredible run here in the Trump stock market and the economic moves that are still underway because this A team in place is getting it done. Phenomenal. Huge opportunities. And I want to help you. I want to help ordinary investors out there capitalize on the wealth explosion that's being created by what I'm calling Manhattan Project 2. I went to Taiwan as part of the frontline research on this, and I want you, I'm actually writing the Taiwan issue this week as we speak. Big takeaways. And this is all about leveling the playing field, telling you about the biggest stories going on, yes, in politics, but also in the markets. I've got a great market research team and want to tell you more about this, but you got to go to insider2025.com right now. Join our information flow. Get 82% off the sticker price. You'll be so glad you did. Insider2025.com is the website to see this project for yourself. Insider2025.com, paid for by Paradigm Press.
Stories of freedom. Stories of America. Inspirational stories that unite us all. Each day, spend time with Clay and Buck. Find them on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, welcome back in here to Clay and Buck. We have Congressman Jim Jordan with us in the mix today. What's going on, Congressman?
How you guys doing? Good to be with you.
We're good. Can I? There's a few things we have on the agenda for you today, sir, to talk about in the news, but the shutdown starting to feel like the Democrats are playing a bit of chicken here and maybe not going to pull off the road. There's word that this could create shortage in like food stamps for people? I mean, what is going on here?
Well, I mean, you guys have talked about this. We all know this is about the crazy left that now unfortunately has control of one of our major political parties. And like I said this, I think the first week this happened, Chuck Schumer's having a debate with Chuck Schumer because he was for this 6 months ago, but now he's not. And it's the same darn thing. But yeah, it's all about their left. I've been telling people this underscores why the midterms are so important, because the same mindset that says we won't vote for what we voted for before, we're going to shut down the government, is the same mindset. If they get control, we'll go after President Trump, we'll impeach him and do all this stuff that they did, in his first term. That's what's at stake here. So I think the country sees this for just being ridiculous. And hopefully it ends sometime soon. But like you, Buck, I don't know. It may go for a while.
Jim, do you think this is related directly to Chuck Schumer being afraid of AOC and thinking that she might primary him in New York because he got so much criticism?
Could I just add to Clay's question?
Yeah,
I don't want to. Is that the bigger issue, or is the Obamacare subsidies and people realizing they're both issues? But which one do you think is driving this more? The Schumer shutdown or the Obamacare thing?
Well, I think it's probably the former because, remember, it looks like even Leader Jeffries may get a primary in New York City. So I do think it's this phenomena that the hard left has control of that party. But I think that is driving this. And remember, Chuck Schumer took all kinds of heat from the left, including, frankly, from Hakeem Jeffries back in March when he allowed the Senate to pass the continuing resolution. So I think that is certainly big. But then they pick healthcare because that's the only issue they think they have. The only thing that polling shows they might have somewhat of an advantage if you can trust the polls, because what they're going to run on, letting more people into the country like they did on border security. They're going to run on raising people's taxes. They're going to run on men and women's sports. I mean, there's no other issue they really have. So foreign policy, the president's been amazing. So I think it's a combination, but I do think it's driven primarily by the hard left and the fact that he may get a primary. The Senate leader for the Democrats may get a primary, and now there's talk of Hakeem Jeffries getting one as well.
So when you break all this down, I said, hey, I think they didn't want to have the shutdown because the No Kings protest is going on, Jim, and they didn't want to bend the knee right beforehand. Right. Now my sort of political antenna are up, and it's suggesting maybe they are in a bigger scrap than they anticipated with the Virginia race for governor and lieutenant governor and attorney general. And they somehow feel as if the government is shut down, maybe left-wing voters in Northern Virginia are more motivated to come out. Do you think that's also in play here? Because that's really doesn't make any sense that this battle would be going on and they would have so little at stake by and large to not be willing to keep moving along.
Yeah. That may in fact be the case, and so we may be in this till November 5th or longer, after Election Day. But I would also just never underestimate just this phenomena about the left's hatred for President Trump. I mean, this whole, we've talked before. Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing, and so many people on the left really have this phenomena going on, and they are just out in any way they think it's harmful to the president, harmful to Republicans. They're for it, even if it's something as ridiculous as shutting down the government because you won't vote for what you've already supported for good. Wait, we made this so simple. Here's the CR. It's short term. It's what you voted on. I mean, and you can't vote for that? Like, they're saying we need to compromise. We've already did. We've given you the bill that you supported 6 months ago, for goodness sake.
We're speaking to Jim Jordan, congressman from Ohio. You all know Congressman Jordan. And New York Post certainly knows him because they've got him in a side-by-side here, I see, with former CIA Director Brennan. Because, Congressman, tell us what's going on here. There's been a referral by the House Judiciary Committee regarding ex-CIA Director Brennan for lying under oath. What's happening?
Yeah. Well, you all know you're not supposed to lie, but you're definitely not supposed to lie when you're under oath talking to Congress. And it looks like that's exactly what John Brennan did. And it looks like he did that because, God bless Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, declassified a report from the House Intelligence Committee from a few years ago. And that report says just to what Brennan told us in this deposition. He told us, I was not involved with the dossier at all during the whole Russia hoax baloney, and I didn't want it included in the intelligence community assessment. Well, then we get the declassified the report from Director Gabbard, and it says just the opposite. It says, oh, no, the dossier warrants being included in the ICA. And, a person at the CIA confronted the director and said, Director, this dossier is garbage. The underlying intelligence is just not there. We shouldn't use it. And Brennan's response was, according to this CIA official, yeah, but doesn't it ring true? Just demonstrating his motive, his bias, his out to get President Trump attitude. And so, look, I don't do many of these. I've only done a few of these referrals because I think you really got to have the evidence that they violated 18 U.S.C. 1001, which says you can't lie to Congress when they're and impede their investigation. But we did it with Brennan, and we point out in the letter, this is part of a pattern with this guy, because I think he also lied to Trey Gowdy when Trey questioned him a few years back on the same issue. And, of course, the irony was, guys, we were deposing Brennan as part of a different investigation. We were deposing him because he was one of the 51 guys who signed the letter, the now famous letter saying the Hunter Biden laptop was a Russian information operation when the FBI had the stinking laptop and knew it wasn't. So we were deposing on that, but we get into this other Russia stuff, and he lies to us about that. And that's why we think this is the facts are strong, and we sent the letter to Attorney General Bondi.
We're talking to Representative Jim Jordan from the great state of Ohio. Jim, when you look at what Trump has done, we were just up in Fort Wayne, Indiana yesterday, Buck and I were, and I think you can make a strong argument that this is the greatest year that we have ever seen of any president in terms of total impact, what he's been able to
real
accomplish.
Wins, not just promises.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking to the WOWO folks about, is that Trump is racking up the scoreboard. Sorry, Clay.
Yeah, no, it's exactly right. And when you look at, you were there for Trump 1.0, how much more efficient and effective do you think the first year of Trump 2.0 has been than anything we saw Trump 1.0? What do you attribute it to, and do you sign on to that take that we put out there and that we've been arguing quite a bit on this show?
Yeah, 100% sign on to what you guys said. It's been an amazing 9 months, frankly. Just truly amazing. I thought his first term was amazing, but I do think this is better for a couple reasons. One, he's just focused. He's been through this before. He knows how crazy the media is going to be, how crazy the left's going to be, and it's not deterring him. He's focused on the mission. Second, the people he's put in running these key agencies are actually Trump people. The first time he had Rex Tillerson, for goodness sake. He had Jeff Sessions, for goodness sake, running, state and justice. They weren't necessarily on the team. But the team he's put together, and we deal with the justice. I mean, Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, Kash Patel, Dan Bond. These guys are good people who are focused on doing their job the way it's supposed to be and serving the taxpayers. And then finally, I would say this. I always say we make this job of politics way too complicated. Very darn simple. What did you tell the folks you were going to do when you ran for the job? If you get elected, go do what you said. And no one has done it better than President Trump. He said he would cut taxes. He did. He said he'd get men out of women's sports. He has. He said he would make sure Iran doesn't get nuclear capabilities with the help of Israel and our great military. He accomplished that. He said that he would secure the border. For goodness sake, he accomplished that in just a few months. So on and on it goes. And he's just focused on doing what he said, what he was elected to do. And that's what's frustrating the Democrats and why they got to we're going to have to shut down the government and create some crazy Obamacare issue to justify that, because he is doing what he said he would do and getting it done in just an amazing way.
Congressman, how are we looking for I know it's a year out, but because we're all focused on this upcoming election, at least in a few places, some big races are happening. New Jersey, Virginia, New York City mayor. Yeah. How are you feeling about the Republicans' chances in the House, especially given that this administration is getting things done? The Republican Party is keeping its promises. And, how do you war game that out a year from now?
I feel good. I mean, I feel like we break the trend, because the trend is typically against us when you're the party in power in the White House. It's tough in the midterms. But I feel good because of the record we just talked about, because we're recruiting good candidates. I do think redistricting is going to net out in favor of us. I mean, it's happening in so many different states. It's in the news every day, it seems. And then finally, I think Trump has just fundamentally changed American politics. I mean, I look at Youngstown, Ohio. I mean, you can look at our whole state, but take Youngstown, Ohio. Youngstown, Ohio now has a Republican member of Congress representing the city. The state senator is Republican, and the state reps in that area are Republican as well. 25 years ago, this was the most Democrat area in the state, on the country maybe. And now it's represented by Republicans because he has fundamentally changed the party and politics and is, I think, truly fighting for middle class, working class, and all Americans. And I think that message is getting through.
Good luck to the Buckeyes as the season continues, Congressman. I think they are going to continue to roll, and I know you got Wisconsin connections too. Good luck to them because I think they really need it.
Oh man, poor Fickell. It's been tough. You got to have a quarterback to win games, and it's just been tough for the Badgers, no doubt about it. But the Buckeyes are, as you point out, looking good. You did great on the. I caught you earlier on this crazy NBA story.
Yeah, I mean, what's your take on that? I mean, this is like we started off the show talking about this, and obviously I was talking about it on Fox News too. I mean, this is just all bonkers, huh?
No kidding. I was joking with our media guy. I said, makes you long for the good old days when Pete Rose only bet for the Reds to win.
Yeah,
and as far as I know, was not involved with the mob. I mean, this is wild, and throwing games that I haven't seen the videos, but people tell me like there's some videos of the player.
Oh, I mean, you watch some of these plays. I mean, it is bad. It is very bad. Congressman Jim Jordan, keep up the good work,
right,
and
guys,
we'll have you on whenever it makes sense.
All right, we'll see you guys. Take care.
Congressman, appreciate you. Can I ask you a quick question, Clay, actually, about this?
Yeah.
Have people tried to make the case? Because to me, again, as a not somebody who does this sports stuff, professional or college a lot. But if you want to bet on your team, why is that bad? Do you know what I mean? Like, if I'm a player, if I'm a quarterback and I want to bet $1 million that my team can win, I understand. Obviously it's fraud if you're going against your team because the implication is you always want your team to win. But do people ever make that case that there's something very different about I have full faith that I'm going to win this, so I'm going to putting money on yourself versus I'm just wondering about that.
Look, the concern is
I didn't know
you
that.
lose. Yeah, Pete Rose did that. You lose, and eventually you end up having to pay back the money. So it just puts you out of whack. Now, to be fair, boxers do it all the time. Boxers in Vegas have gone in and said, hey, I'm going to put, I think Floyd Mayweather did it. I'm going to put $1 million down on me to win. Like, I'm going to walk into a casino. So certain leagues prohibit it as part of player contracts.
So there are carve-outs for that because that feels very different.
It usually has to be an individual athlete. So some boxers have bet on themselves. Now, obviously, you can't bet against yourself. I mean, that would raise a lot of red flags as a fraud. But yeah, some boxers have gone for it. I think some UFC fighters in the past, or mixed martial arts fighters, if not UFC in particular. A lot of the contracts as a part of the Players Association do not allow you to gamble on any sport. Sometimes they'll allow you to do casino table wagering, but there's always been the fear that you end up in debt, and then as a way to pay back the debt, you could give it away. If you really want to dive into the particulars of, sports gambling, and refs have always been the ones that seem particularly susceptible, right? So referees, because they don't make as much money. Most of us, Buck, sat around and said, a guy making $26 million is never going to be dumb enough to risk it all for $200,000, right? Now, that's the allegation against Terry Rozier in the NBA. But we would sometimes sit around and say, if you're an official and you make $120K, $10,000 or $5,000 to you is a lot more than to an average athlete. And so that's always been like the area that I thought was susceptible. But again, the bright lights of regulation theoretically would allow you to get called. And obviously, if you're an official, you're not allowed to gamble on these games at all. When you got your kids under your roof, you don't play around, keeping everybody safe. Our sponsor, Sabre, family-owned business making self-protection tools for 50 years. Pepper Gel Gun is a great example. Shaped like a pistol or rifle, depending on the model, fires off a pepper gel projectile, goes the distance, making it effective against an intruder, and also just pepper sprays. We're talking about this yesterday in Fort Wayne. You never know when you might be walking through a parking lot late at night. Maybe you got a kid or a grandkid and they've got a new job and they are getting off late hours at a restaurant or at a mall or somewhere out there and they got to walk to a car. Why not have pepper gel spray, that pepper spray, on the phone, on the keychain of every single one of your keychains for your teenager, for yourself, for your wife, for your daughter, for your granddaughter. Go check it out right now, saberradio.com. I'm telling you, you're going to love these products. We have every single one of them in the Travis house, SABRE radio.com. 15% off when you go there. You can also call 844-824-SAFE. That's 844-824-SAFE.
You ain't imagining it. The world has gone insane. Reclaim your sanity with Clay and Buck. Find them on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcast.
Tired of spills and stains on your sofa? WashableSofas.com has your back. Featuring the Anabay collection, the only designer sofa that's machine washable inside and out, where designer quality meets budget-friendly prices. That's right, sofas start at just $699. Enjoy a no-risk experience with pet-friendly, stain-resistant, and changeable slip covers made with performance fabrics. Experience cloud-like comfort with high-resilience foam that's hypoallergenic and never needs fluffing. The sturdy steel frame ensures longevity, and the modular pieces can be rearranged anytime. Check out WashableSofas.com and get up to 60% off your Anabay sofa, backed by a 30-day satisfaction guarantee. If you're not absolutely in love, send it back for a full refund. No return shipping or restocking fees. Every penny back. Upgrade now at WashableSofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Third hour of Clay and Buck flying by today, everybody. Thank you for being here with us. We always appreciate getting to hang out with all of you across this great land of ours. We had, just in the last hour, we pulled the highlight from our friend Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, addressing a whole range of issues, including the government shutdown, the White House ballroom building, or the building of the ballroom, or the ballroom building. And then we've also got for you the New York City mayor's race. There was a debate, a second mayoral debate last night. Team, let me know. We've asked Mr. Sliwa to come on. Do we have a day yet for when he's going to come on and talk and explain to everybody? Not yet. All right. It's a little busy.
There's not a lot of days left to point out.
It's a big radio show, though. It's a big radio show. There's a lot of people listening. I just putting that out there. So maybe it'd be good for him to come and talk to us for a few minutes. Anyway, that's fine. But we have invited him. We've invited Cuomo as well. We'll see if he wants to join. Probably not. But we're trying. We're putting out the ask. In the meantime, Clay, Democratic House Whip Catherine Clark. She is now famous. This goes to the shutdown issue. So we'll come back to New York in a minute. We got a whole country we got to talk about as well. This shutdown is starting to feel like it's going to have some nasty consequences for some people. I mean, there's going to be some paychecks missed. I understand people will be getting back pay, but, you know, it's easy to say when you're not living paycheck to paycheck. I get it. There's stress there. Here is the Democrat House Whip, though, Catherine Clark, who said this was an interview in the Chad Pergram program. Who is that? Do we know who that is? I know he's a Fox guy, right? Oh, he's a Fox guy.
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
They said this to a Fox guy? Yeah, okay. Interesting. Here she is, interview with Chad Pergram, and here is how it went. Play 11.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. But it is one of the few leveraged times we have.
I don't think that's what you want to say out loud here. And Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, certainly jumped on this one. Play cut 12.
The second highest ranked House Democrat in leadership, Whip Catherine Clark, admitted openly that they have shut the government down and that they are using hardworking American families as leverage for what? So that they can show a fight against Trump and also so that they can restore $200 billion in free health care paid for by U.S. taxpayers to illegal aliens. Yes, that's in their bill. And it's just part of the $1.5 trillion that they have demanded to spend. We're not going to do that. They know we're not going to do that. And she said in her own words today, quote, "We know that families will suffer, but this is one of the leverage times that we have." She said that in her own words, and it was pretty shocking today to hear them say that. They usually don't say the quiet parts out loud.
Clay, Democrats are throwing a tantrum and people are suffering. They're the ones taking the hostages here.
Buck, I got a theory. It's not going to make you happy. New York City is screwing everybody in every direction. It's all interconnected. Hakeem Jeffries is worried that Mamdani's top aide is going to challenge him in his House district in the New York City area. Chuck Schumer is terrified that AOC is going to challenge him in the 2028 Senate primary in New York. And also, Mamdani is about to destroy the entire fabric of New York City if he is elected mayor. What seems to be a large national issue is actually when you go back and dial in and analyze where the motivation for everyone that is in a significant position of power's actions, where those motivations for those actions come from. It's Hakeem Jeffries terrified of a further left-wing congressman taking his seat in New York City. It's Chuck Schumer terrified of a further left-wing Senate candidate, primarily AOC, taking his seat in New York State. And it is Mamdani, far left-wing, having put the fear of God into Hakeem Jeffries and into Chuck Schumer because he triumphed in the Democrat New York City mayoral primary over Andrew Cuomo, the old, more established, more moderate, if still moronic voice of Democrat politics. In other words, all of this is a direct result of the surprise upset victory of Mamdani in New York City, which made Jeffries and Schumer both think, we might get Cuomo'd. Do you buy it? I think it's all connected.
I was very interested to hear from Jim Jordan that he thinks that the political calculations within the Democrat Party are a bigger thing than even the massive Obamacare subsidies that they need, or else the price of people's health care in a lot of cases is going to go way up because Obamacare is a disaster. But never underestimate the politicians of the left and their ability to make it all about them. All about them. Chuck Schumer, what would Chuck Schumer be willing to do to make sure that he stays in the game and stays in the Senate? Whatever he can do. I think
whatever
that is
it takes.
true. Yeah, whatever
it takes. I think they looked at Cuomo and they said, wait a minute. He had all the resources of the Democrat Party. This guy Mamdani came out of nowhere, running far to the left of Cuomo, a name that has been a legacy institution for 2.5 generations in New York City. Everybody knows the name Cuomo. And Cuomo got steamrolled by Mamdani. And I think Hakeem Jeffries looked over his shoulder and said, whatever that guy's name is, that's Mamdani's top assistant that's threatened to run against him is going to beat me. They've already seen AOC out of nowhere win a primary in New York against a longtime congressman. So Chuck Schumer's had her on the radar for a long time and been afraid of her, I think. And so all of this decision making on a national scale comes down to, look, it probably doesn't make sense that the Democrat Party's top House leader and top Senate leader are both from the same city. America's kind of a big place. I understand New York City is a significant part of America, but it shouldn't necessarily be the entire cultural firmament of the Democrat Party. But that's where we are right now, with Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer just living within a couple of miles of each other in the New York City area. So I think this is all rooted to fear provoked by Mamdani. And remember, unless I'm wrong, Buck, neither Schumer nor Hakeem Jeffries have yet endorsed Mamdani in the New York City mayor's race, despite the fact that he's the Democrat nominee, which is kind of wild. I believe Kathy Hochul did, but she's a moron, as we all know. But I believe Kathy Hochul has endorsed Mamdani. I think she's the only statewide big, powerful person to have done so in the state of New York so far.
Since we're talking a little Mamdani here, well, actually, first let's go to this from Curtis Sliwa. This got a lot of attention. Curtis he's making waves and making noise for sure up there on the debate stage, which is not unusual. He is. Well, you know what? I'm just gonna let Curtis speak for Curtis here. This is from the second mayoral debate last night. Cut 9. Hit it.
It's us versus them. It's us versus the insiders and the billionaires. It's us versus Cuomo. It's us versus Zorhan. This is a campaign not about power. This is a campaign about you, the people. And I know many of you hardworking New Yorkers, you tell me you've been pushed aside, you've been silenced. These are the people that have all the money, all the connections. They've made their backroom deals, but we have something more important. We have you, the people. And we're not going to be silenced anymore. We're going to fight. Tonight, I want you to look at the content of my policies, to know that I've served this city for more than 50 years, the city that I love. And I'm going to share with you my vision to make New York City safer again, to make New York City more affordable again, and where everybody once again can live the American dream.
It's a good speech. He's not going to be mayor.
He is by far the best option. I'm not arguing with anybody out there that's a diehard Curtis Sliwa fan that if you or I had a magic wand and we could pick the same person of the trio still alive in this primary to be nominated, it would be Sliwa. Problem is, Sliwa stays in the race. He's going to guarantee that Mamdani wins. Eric Adams saw it. Eric Adams is the current mayor. He stepped out and he endorsed Andrew Cuomo. They were courtside at the Knicks last night. I don't, again, we got the invite out to Curtis Sliwa. It's not that I disagree with what he's saying. It's that he cannot win. And if he can't win, then unless he prefers Mamdani over Cuomo, and maybe he does, I will ask him direct if he comes on the program, then he is making a decision that is going to put Mamdani into the mayor's office.
Maybe he thinks Mamdani's going to win no matter what, which is certainly,
well, there's a possibility of that too.
Certainly something that we could look at and say, well, might factor into his calculations there. But since we're talking a little Mamdani, this was a moment from the debate where Cuomo and Sliwa tag teamed the commie who, in classic commie fashion, won't tell you what he really wants to do until it's too late and he already has power. This is about ballot initiatives which is very straightforward. People vote on a ballot initiative. Yes or no? Yes or no? Do you want this? Mamdani is like, I don't know about these ballot initiatives. Listen to Cut 10.
There was reference to the 3 housing-related charter amendment questions. I know Mr. Cuomo is on the record as saying he favors them. We just heard Mr. Sliwa say that he's against them. Where do you stand on those?
I'm appreciative that those measures will be on the ballot and that New Yorkers will be able to cast their votes for them. I know that we desperately need to build more housing in this city, and I also know that the jobs we create in the building of that housing should be good jobs as well.
What a political answer. What is your opinion, Zoran?
Yes or no?
Come on.
Yes or no?
What is your opinion? Yes or no, Zoran?
True.
Don't be a politician here.
I got it. They're pointing out what I was about to answer the question.
No, I think on the stage you can see 2 people appealing for the Republican Party's votes.
Don't myself.
Answer the question. Answer the question for once.
My question to you was, do you support the 3 ballot amendment questions?
I have not yet taken a position on those ballot amendment questions.
Oh, what a shocker.
All right.
What a shocker.
We're gonna move
Don't worry,
on.
once he takes it, he'll change it anyway.
What a shocker, Clay. What do you think?
Look, I think it is almost impossible to know what Mamdani is going to do because he's never actually done anything of substance. He is an incredibly articulate, glib, smiley, glad-handling politician who is very good at social media, and he's good at motivating young people. But unlike Andrew Cuomo, for better or worse, who has a lifelong record of things he stood for and done, and unlike Curtis Sliwa, who has the same, Mamdani is an articulate shadow. I mean, he hasn't actually done anything, which is why the best thing I can say for Mamdani is just he's going to get into office and not do any of the things that he said he was going to do to get into office. And that's not ideal when you're a politician. The whole purpose of being a politician is to tell people what you'll do with power. I think it's possible Mamdani will get power and not be remotely what Mamdani to get power said Mamdani would be. Does that make sense? That he's the opposite of a transactional politician, and he's actually just a politician who wants to get into office and likes the power, but isn't really necessarily going to use it to try and do the things that he claimed he was. That's the best case scenario.
I just think it's funny that he's savvy. Mamdani is savvy enough to know stay a cipher as much as you can on some of this stuff because he's in the number 1 seat and no need for him to make any waves by taking any positions. And remember, Democrats, there's a long history, well, at least a long and recent history of Democrats knowing what the person they're voting for really thinks and approving of it when they say what they have to say to get elected. Perfect example of this was Barack Obama on gay marriage when he ran in 2008. They knew that, remember, it had just lost, Prop 8 had lost in California, and then the court overturned that. Barack Obama was going to make, Barack Obama was given a pass on his gay marriage position because it was believed that was by the Democrats, that was what he had to say in order to become, or part of what he had to say in order to become president. I think Mamdani gets the same leeway from the commies.
And I think that's true. Remember also how the gay marriage pivot happened for Democrats? Joe Biden went on and said it before Obama. Do you remember that? It was Joe Biden in some random Today Show interview, I think, suddenly decided that he was going to come out in favor of gay marriage after not having supported it for 30 years or whatever of his political career. And the Obama team was furious because they said this was going to be our big initiative. This was going to be a big statement that the president was going to make. And then, Joe, you stepped all over it and made it look like Obama was following you as opposed to being the leader. Look, we'll talk more about this. We'll take some of your calls. I was in New York earlier this week to moderate and help raise money at a Tunnel to Towers event after a big golf outing at Liberty Nationals, nearly the 24th anniversary of 9/11. But there were people there, 3 different individuals who stood up in the dinner and told the story of the impact that Tunnel to Towers has made in their lives by paying off the mortgages. One of the women who stood up and talked said that she was able to go back to school and become a nurse because her husband had died and she had young children and she was otherwise not going to be able to take care of them. And thankfully, because of Tunnel to Towers, she was able to go back and become a nurse and take care of her family. There's all sorts of stories like these, and there's all sorts of heroes like these, like Army Warrant Officer Stuart Wayment. Stuart joined the Army because he valued liberty, freedom, and service, graduated from Army Aviation School, received many honors and awards, but a midair collision during a training exercise took Stuart's life. He left behind his wife, Kiara, and their 3 sons. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on Stuart's family's home. The kindness of people across the country alleviated Kiara's financial burden and brought support for her children's future needs. She's grateful her kids can grow up in a safe place, supported by family members who keep Stuart's memory alive. You can help more families like Stuart's. I saw him for myself in person this week. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
News and politics, but also a little comic relief. Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Find them on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is an iHeart podcast.